Ben Folds here on the Rich Eisen Show, and sitting right to my right, the man himself. Good to see you, Ben Folds.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. I am a huge fan
Thank you,
of your work, and it is remarkable to me, and understandable because of your remarkable talent. You listen to music for 8 hours a day at age 2, and you remember this.
Yeah, I remember.
How old are you now, Ben?
53. So that was 51 years ago, if my math is correct.
So you remember something as a 2-year-old? That's a fact?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We lived in about 14 houses when I was a kid. That was one of them when I was 2 to 3 years old. I can show you the floor plan of the house in my head. I know where everything was, and I confirmed that to my parents. I think it probably is because I was listening to so much music. I didn't know it was 8 hours. I called my mother when I was writing the book and said, "What do you think, 2 or 3 hours?" And she's like, 8, which got me a free trip to the child psychologist.
So what were you listening to?
Everything that was available. My parents would just basically throw records on the floor to me, you know, like Little Richard, a whole lot of Little Richard.
Okay.
Some Elvis I didn't like as much. And then kiddie records, you know, like I'm Little Teapot, Short and Stout.
Okay, so
like
you
that.
got a
little bit of everything.
A little bit of that.
Yeah.
What was the most influence for you, Ben?
Definitely Little Richard. That was just wild abandon, and the piano playing was in my bones from 2 years on.
That's that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when did you first sit in front of a piano?
We got a piano when I was 9 years old. My father's construction worker. He got a piano for pay for a gig that he did where, I don't know, they couldn't pay the whole thing. They gave him a piano.
Right.
That's when I first got full-time at a piano. And then it was all the time. As soon as that landed in our hallway, then it was already blocking the hallway without me, into the middle of it. And I played all the time.
So what does it mean that one of the first records I remember as a kid was Alan Sherman?
Oh, yeah?
Who used to sing, Hello, Mother, Hello, Father,
Yeah.
Here I Am.
I remember
Camp
that,
Granada.
too, yeah. I had the single of that. I had a little 45
Yeah,
of that.
I had the 45 I had was Mac the Knife.
Yeah.
I was listening to Bobby Darin.
right?
Yep. Glenn Campbell's Rhinestone Cowboy I played the crap out of on a 45 on my record player in my room.
What a great singer.
But I was like 6 or 7. I could not remember a thing about being a 2-year-old.
Yeah,
That is
amazing.
amazing.
One of the things I put in the book at the beginning, not as a thesis for the entire book, but
Right.
that I listen to so much music is very compelling to someone who is a music in the brain neurologist, person who studies these things, will tell you that the associative properties of remembering music brings back all these other things. That's why they use them in dementia patients and stroke victims.
Sure.
Because your whole brain lights up over music, so you can find all kinds of ways to get the information from there. And I do believe that the reason I can remember so much from 2 years old is from that. I remember what the memories of memories. I mean, I'd hurt my arm on a radiator, burned it, and I don't remember the actual event, but I can remember remembering the event. And I can remember looking at my arm where I had the scar.
Ben Folds here on the Rich Eisen Show. Did you ever try sports? Did that ever?
I loved soccer. Loved soccer when I was a kid. I was a terrible hack tennis player because I never had any lessons. So I would always just have to hit a forearm or a forehand or like a one-handed kind of. I wasn't a very good player. What else? I liked boxing when I was a little kid. We all had boxing gloves, like these massive 16-ounce boxing gloves. And
you're from North Carolina.
Yeah.
Doesn't that require you to have at least some form of basketball game or anything like that? Or no?
Basketball was big too. I remember basketball for just being miserable having to go play it because I just got the ball stuffed in my face all the time. And the whole time I'm thinking, I would just reassure myself that I'm a good musician, but I can do this. like just to kind of try to keep some confidence because I just got smeared in that sport.
So you told me backstage you had a cup of coffee at Duke. That's a true story? You were there for what? How long were you at Duke?
I was a semester. to basically help with their. They didn't have. They do an abroad program,
right?
And they needed someone to teach percussion. So I was given a scholarship to go along and teach percussion and technically was there. Took a couple classes over there before in the summer.
Did you go to any hoops games inside Cameron Indoor? You weren't one of those face painters or anything like that waited out for 15 hours to say that you saw Carolina versus Duke? Nothing
I was
like that?
pretty invisible there. I lived in Chapel Hill for a few years, so but I never went to the football basketball.
Okay,
games.
we met before at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
You performed on the U.S. Open late night show that CBS did for 3 years that I was honored to host for 3 years.
I do remember that.
Did you go to see any of the tennis, or did you just show up and play your songs and get out of Dodge that night?
No, we went straight to the airport from there. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Because it was right down the street from LaGuardia
That's
and
right.
then JFK right there at the U.S. Tennis Center.
That's right. And oddly enough, this is right on the way to LAX.
You and I will only see each other on your way to the airport,
It
huh?
seems that way, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Why is your book called A Dream About Lightning Bugs, Ben Folds? Why is it called that?
Yeah, this just comes from a dream when I was 2 years old, and the dream was chasing lightning bugs, being the kid who could see them while the other kids couldn't, unless I pointed them out, put them in a jar, made kids happy. I remember as an adult this dream because it strikes me as a really good metaphor for what an artist does, which is you see something as it flickers.
Yes.
It's only for a moment. You try to capture for other people. Everyone sees different things. Maybe the other kids in the dream might have seen stars in the sky or clouds rolling in. I'm not saying like I'm the only one that sees things. It's just an artist is responsible for that which he or she sees.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I like about it is that lightning bugs, fireflies disappear into the light of day. And to me, that's a good metaphor for applying intellect or technique, craft to the inspiration. As soon as you start thinking about it, it wants to disappear into the light of day, but you have to anyway because that's part of the art.
Well, it's a beautiful notion and metaphor, as you point out. And one of the many reasons why my wife and I wanted to send our kids to summer camp on the East Coast up in the Northeast, they don't know what a firefly is or a lightning bug out here in Southern California. It's kind of crazy for people who grew up on the East Coast.
I lived in Santa Monica for a while, and I would just look for bugs on the ground. There was no bugs. I missed bugs while I was there.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of an interesting dichotomy in that respect. What's your most personal song that you've put out there, Ben?
I don't know. I mean, I think an obvious example would have been "Brick," which was a big hit. But many of my songs have really personal, either interest or experiences inside them. But then I'm allowed to turn them into something broader, fictional, if I need to. Yeah, but I think I'm willing to put anything personal into a song if it makes it a better song, and so often it does because you actually feel it as the writer. I don't have a particular discomfort in doing that because I kind of look at it more like a lab technician,
right?
I'm trying to build the best song I can, and if it's pure fiction and I got to be like David Bowie and go to Mars to write the song, awesome.
What is Landed about? That's the one that leaps out to me.
Landed was about a good friend of mine who I felt his experience a lot in what I saw happening. I played it for him once we'd recorded it, and he goes, "That doesn't resemble me at all." And a couple years later, realized that it resembled me more than him, which I think is an interesting thing about writing. Is that very often you see someone who you relate to, and you write about them, only to find out later it's more about yourself.
Interesting.
Landed is coming up on the other side out of a relationship which distanced you from everyone else, and everyone's probably done one or two of those where your girlfriend or boyfriend causes a bubble for the two of you, and you don't relate to your old friends anymore or your family.
Ben Folds here on the Rich Eisen Show. How in the world did you wind up collaborating with William Shatner? Walk me through this, Ben.
When I was a kid, and I should have put this in the book, but when I was a kid, I was a huge fan of the album Transformed Man.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought that at a yard sale, and the damn thing is worth so much now.
I have a copy myself.
You've got a vinyl copy?
Damn straight I do.
When did you
See, I knew we were birds of a feather in a way here.
But it's a beautiful album. I know it's funny, but the thing is there something so compelling about his voice? It's so out of bounds. It's like off the chain.
Well, he was doing beatnik versions in a way, right? Of Rocket Man
Totally. And coupling them with Shakespeare or coupling them with Cyrano. I mean, he was being It was interestingly, especially put together.
So you were not a fan of Star Trek, but rather his music?
I was a fan of Star Trek. All kids love Star Trek.
Okay.
But I loved this album. And when I was 16 years old,
yes.
I wrote a song for Shatner. I wrote one that I wanted to hear him speak. And I went to the library and I looked up the William Morris agency in the library and I sent the song to him and I got a form letter back, Mr. Shatner, blah, blah, thanks you and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And years later, when I knew the fix was in that we were going to have a hit song, I was like, okay, one of my childhood dreams here is I want Shatner to speak my song. So I was able to make that happen. He was on the way to the session and I realized, oh man, this is a song written by 16-year-olds. It's terrible.
Yes.
So I rewrote the whole thing before he got there.
Come on. Ben.
I did. I rewrote the whole thing before he showed up. We performed it, and this was 1997. We became really good friends. We've been buds ever since. And so it was natural that we'd make a record together. His record label wanted him to make a silly record of covers, like, Madonna and stuff like that, just to be ironic and funny. And I said, Bill, I think you need to tell your story and tell the truth. And he did, and it's a beautiful record.
In Love, right, is the name of it? Is that what it's called?
In Love is the song that I wrote that he spoke, and the album that we did together was his album called Has Been, was in 2004, and we got Joe Jackson in for that. Had this crazy moment where we also almost pulled off having Bill Clinton play sax, Weezer be the band in a gospel choir, and him all doing it live, which would have been crazy. But we had to wait so long for Weezer that we ended up losing Clinton.
Hold on a second. Weezer was the missing piece, is the most difficult piece to put together for this?
Absolutely. Bill Clinton was a big Star Trek fan, so I said to ask Shatner, just call Clinton. We've got his address and stuff in Harlem. You can call him. He goes, really? The president? I was like, yeah, call him. He's probably a fan. And he called me back like 20 minutes later, like, Benny, I spoke to the president. and he said, yeah, and apparently Clinton's thing was like, yeah, I'm happy to do it. Just make sure Ben doesn't let me sound like and that was his. And then his book came out. The problem was Clinton's book came out, and he was on a book tour. So as soon as Weezer said, yeah, maybe we can do it, we had lost it. So the way it turned out was actually really good. We had Joe Jackson smeared it and was fantastic.
I bet. Ben Folds here on the Rich Eisen Show. A couple minutes left with the author of A Dream About Lightning Bugs. Let's play a little bit of Celebrity True or False with Ben Folds before we head out on down the road.
Celebrity True or False?
You can't handle the truth.
Our previous drop used to have Spandau Ballet at the very end of it, correct? Oh. Right? What's your
Celebrity True or False?
Very good. I like it. But you didn't have the Spandau Ballet part of it.
Yeah, we changed
What's your favorite yacht rock band? If you could name one yacht rock band, Ben Folds.
Well, does Loggins and Messina count?
Of course.
I liked Loggins and Messina. That might be pre-yacht rock.
Well, there's Seals and Croft,
Dingy,
right? There's okay. I'm just
Seals and Croft. Oh yeah. That
Summer Breeze.
Summer Breeze is good. Yeah.
I mean, it's my.
I have a soft spot for that stuff.
Please, that's Chris Cross, right?
Christopher Cross.
Of course. Yeah. We've all been caught between the moon and New York City, Ben. You understand? We've all been there. All right, here's the first one for Ben Folds, the Celebrity True or False. You were taken to a child psychologist who told your mom that you should be held back in school. She didn't, thinking that you were just creative. Is that a true story?
That is true.
Okay. And it all worked out for you in the very, very long run.
It seems to have. I feel pretty normal.
Okay, very good. You had a full scholarship playing drums at the University of Miami, and you had to play your final exam with a broken hand you broke in a fight the previous night. Is that a true story?
That's correct, but it should be understood that I hit the wall and not the guy.
You hit the wall?
Yeah. Yeah, the guy had come to beat my roommate up. I was sort of standing in to take up for him for some weird reason. It's just a Southern thing, and I don't know what I was thinking. The guy was on a wrestling scholarship, and he was an amateur boxer, and he killed me, and I had to be dropped off in a police car from the hospital for my final exams, and my hand was broken, my nose, and my stitches everywhere. It was terribly embarrassing.
And is it true you had a How Do You Like Me Now moment where you performed in 2005 and the dean gave you your scholarship back? Is that true?
We didn't do any kind of scholarshipy thing, but no, so that's half true.
Okay.
But I did play with their orchestra and got to talk to the kids about the story. One of my proudest sort of achievements, oddly, is that I threw my drum set in the lake after losing my scholarship at the University of Miami. And that years later, it's one of the first things that a freshman music student finds out is that they talk about the legend of my drums in the lake. And that fills me with such a sense of accomplishment.
Would you ever want to bring it up like the Titanic? Like literally find it and bring it up somewhere?
I mean, there's been jokes about we could make a scuba diving, expedition documentary. Well, I mean, you might find the hardware, but certainly the wood would have rotted, but they could probably find something.
How real was the movie Whiplash?
I think Whiplash was very real. I think like any kind of entertainment, sometimes it's good to exaggerate so it feels there. But I would say Whiplash, there are old school jazz guys still teaching that are rough, as they say in Australia, rough as guts. And they are close to abusive because that's the way they learn music. They care deeply, but they are rough.
Last one for you right here. First official gig, Ben Folds. You played polkas at a German restaurant in North Carolina, and they required you to dress the part with lederhosen. True or false?
That is correct. That's true, sir. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Is there a photograph of this somewhere?
Oh yeah, it's in the book.
It's in the book. I didn't see that.
There's a photograph. Yeah, there's so many pictures, you're just gonna miss some of them.
Okay.
A guy tried to carjack me and got in my car when I had my little lederhosen on in like midnight at a gas station, and that's in the book too, because I pulled out a knife because my father had a knife in the car, and asked the guy to get out of my car, and I looked down and like my little legs are hanging out of lederhosen and wooden clogs and stuff, and I'm in a Bronco or a Suburban.
This sounds like Judge Reinhold in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, right?
It was that embarrassing.
Like the long John Silver outfit.
Yes, I love that scene where he's throwing it all out the window.
And real quick, you saw our Caddyshack poster in the green room. And you have a story involving that, too?
I just looked up that clip where dude gets hit by lightning because my son just took a great interest in golf, and he's getting very good at it. He's 20 years old.
Yes.
And the other day, he was out in North Carolina. He was out on the green. Is that what you call it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and apparently he got an indirect lightning hit.
Oh, my God.
He was in a golf cart. I guess the rubber tires are a very good thing.
Yes.
But he tasted metal. He lost feeling in his toe. Crazy stuff.
So you responded by sending him a clip from Caddyshack of the priest being hit by lightning? Did you?
Yeah, that's
Fantastic.
the kind of dad I am.
Father of the Year, Ben Folds, everybody. Fantastic. Follow him on Twitter at Ben Folds, on Instagram at Mercan Pianist, right?
Merkin Pianist. But you
Merkin
know
Pianist.
what? I can't get in anymore.
You've been locked out?
I've been locked out, and they won't help me out. So forget my Instagram account.
Well, how about this? We'll help just by throwing that out there. Hopefully, we'll get your Instagram account unlocked, and then you can get William Shatner here to come on the show and do the Eagles fight song, "Fly Eagles Fly," for us. We're trying to get him to do that.
It'll move you to tears.
I bet it would. I'd love
To
that.
hear it in the room.
I bet it.
Even more beautiful.
A Dream About Lightning Bugs. Check it out right now where all books are sold. Ben Folds, you are awesome. Thanks for coming on here.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime. That's Ben Folds. He's now heading to the airport. That's the way we roll. We chat. I introduce him on a talk show of mine, and then he's off to the airport. That's what's going on right
pattern.
here. Very good. That's Ben Folds right here on The Rich Eisen Show.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.